Hello there, good people. Patricia here. And today we're going to have a little chit chat about what it looks like to burn bridges in real time on live TV. Oh my gosh. You know, it has to do with one of my cooking shows that I follow. I think it's Top Chef that this story comes from. But stick with me because this is about, um, not just building bridges, but when you're burning them and how you should only burn bridges that you truly don't intend to cross ever again. And yes, we're talking about professional relationships here. So before we dive in there, please remember to hit the thumbs up and the like button and subscribe to be able to share out this conversation to others who might be interested as we continue this rebuild and close in on that magic number of 100 videos. We are so close, you all. So thank you so much for supporting. Okay, now back to the issue at hand. Here is the backstory. Y'all know I love to cook. Cooking is one of my, it's a hobby, it's therapy, it's all the things. We spend a lot of time building relationships over food. Ever since I could think of it, from family time to when I was in college, to as young adults, we always gathered around tables cook. And so cooking is, part of my life. And as things have progressed, I've also kind of gotten a little addicted to maybe a few cooking shows, more than a few. So I follow them, and it's great for the knowledge actually about preparation, also about the strategy when it comes to gameplay on different shows, things like that. And then just for fun, right? It's a great thing to be able to binge, and it's something I enjoy, right? Okay, so here's the thing. A few weeks back, I think it's been a few weeks now. I've been catching up, but one of the chefs who had gotten to I think it's top five, and he's someone who had gotten kicked off, got a chance to come back. So he's, back, and he's been, kind of muddling through. I personally think he should have been out a while back, but whatever. It wasn't my decision. And other someone else would, do just worse enough than him to let him slide through. So we get to this round, and the two people who I think are going to end up like getting next in the next couple of shows. Anyways, it's down to these two. And I think his name is Seeger. Seeger is, it's a little pretentious. He's a little, you know, feels like a little about himself, but he can cook, when he's on, he can do the thing when he needs to, but it's also about soul and often very like particular. So we get to this thing where they're cooking out in the forest. They're in the Appalachian Mountains, and the competition is to cook with certain items, but they have to prep all this food out in the woods, basically, and then invite people over. I mean, there's people who come in, and it's tons. And he decides to cook this liver mousse thing. I forget the exact name of it, but basically, it was liver and it was a mousse. And he owned that he had difficulties keeping it chilled enough through this, from starting it in the kitchen to when they got out on site, trying to keep it chilled. And when he served the judges, I'm giving you this backstory for a reason. When he served the judges, he did not like pull a fresh batch and create a fresh batch for them to judge. He gave them something that had been sitting out. And the way this is served, you pipe it. So then he's got his warm hands, piping on this bag. And so it's already been sitting. So that's what he gave them. And needless to say, they were not impressed. They were not impressed. A couple of them were downright like, I can't believe, like, this is just horrible. Like, yes, he met the challenge in terms of utilizing certain ingredients, um, but it's still about taste and presentation. So it comes down to these two folks, and he's one of them. And they ask him about, its preparation, about what happened, and like, did you realize that this was, you know, you know, that it reached past room temp and it just wasn't enjoyable to eat. And he's like, well, I was serving someone else when you guys came up. I didn't have, time to stop that and go practice something new or whatever. Okay, you're only being judged, and this is only a competition worth $250,000, but whatever. Uh, who am I to judge? So then they announce who has to leave, and it's him. They announce, hey, please, pack your knives and go. You've got to go. And then he starts asking questions. Well, I mean, what was the competition again? And they're like, whoa. Because normally at this point, people say thank you and they move on. He proceeds to basically talk back to these judges about their decision. And we're only seeing what's on TV. Behind the scenes, if you watch any of the stuff, they talk about how this can go on and be very labor intensive when they make these decisions. So we're only seeing the edited version. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for the real thing. So we're seeing the edited version where he basically questions their judgment about knocking him out. He throws a little shade to the person who didn't get knocked out and was like, well, I met the rules. And they're like, yes, everybody met the rules. Everyone used the ingredients that we're supposed to. So now it becomes about more than just meeting the minimum of the challenge and about the rest of it, which gets down to straight up how what you gave us, what it tasted like. And it didn't taste good. You served us a moose that had broken, and it's just went back and forth. You're like cringing. I'm sitting there cringing for him. The other competitor is like, "Hey, bro, just let it go." Like he literally says, "Hey, bro, just kind of let it go." And he just keeps going. And then finally, he's like, "Well, fine, you made your decision." And then they show him off camera. So then he goes and he's talking crap to his fellow um, competitors because they go back to the group, say, yes, it was me. And he's worked up still about it. And they're kind of like, And then he asks for the rules. So apparently the producers have to give him the rules and he's reading the rules. I'm still sitting here like, oh my God, this is going to make a fantastic video because this dude here is showing us what not to do in real time when it comes to damaging relationships. And one of those things is literally you could be having a bad time with someone and maybe work through whatever, but do not burn a bridge that you intend to ever cross again. This guy is at the top of his game as a professional chef. You are getting national airtime on this competition show. You're being exposed to all of these people, all of these different chefs from all over the country who are coming in, all these places. And you, on your way out the door, are disrespectful, because there's no other way to say it, disrespectful to the judges and questioning their judgment on whether or not you should be the one to leave at this moment. You have to go watch the episode. It just speed through to the end. That's all that matters. Speed through to the end, fast forward to the end, because it is just like I was sitting there with my mouth just dropped. And the first thing I thought of was, dude, you want to talk about having the ability to blackball yourself? Like, just give them the invitation. Like, this is an invitation to have yourself blackballed because it shows you're not a good sport, that you don't take criticism well. Even when it was really obvious, I'm like, we're not the ones tasting it, but I could tell it was like, that does not look good, right? And you have, was it 4 or 5 renowned chefs, food connoisseurs judging this. This is not any old body, and you've just told them all that they don't know what they're doing. I mean, that's how I heard it. it was crazy, crazy. And it sent me back to remembering times in my career when I actively had to make a decision whether I was going to end and permanently terminate a relationship with someone that maybe I consider a colleague, or at least, we were in the same industry, because I was very mindful about the behavior and what it meant to me. And I knew then, and something that's always been really important to me is that my personal philosophy is that if there's damage to the relationship or to the trust that we have, then there's probably going to be some bridge burning happening, right? If an interaction that we've had has caused some level of damage to the relationship or my ability to trust you for whatever purpose, then it's going to be. Now, the question is, what's the level of the bridge burning? Right? Because it doesn't have to be burn it all down. It does not have to be like, let's just start this end and all the way to the other end, right? It doesn't have to be that. It could be some roadblocks. There could be some, yeah, this one's out of service. And then there's they're like, yeah, no, we're not crossing that bridge ever again. And it takes a lot to get to that point, because in general, I used to give people a lot more benefit of the doubt. I don't as much now. So I probably would, like, end a relationship quicker, faster, sooner than I used to. Um, but I'm still very mindful of it, right? I'm not just doing it in the heat of the moment. I might be really ticked off, but I'm still going to think about what level is this relationship shifting to now as a result of this activity, right? So, perfect example. I will never forget this. When I was working for an elected official, and I was, I was basically his right hand person when it came to higher education issues, and I still had folks who I had worked with in the education arena who were coming in to lobby him and all of that kind of stuff, all the usual. And I had actually been pulled in on something that wasn't my issue, but because it was related to the K-12 end of education. But I had been pulled in because of the folks who were involved, because they were all folks I'd worked with for many years. So one day, right before the boss is about to head into this meeting with all of these folks, and again, remember, this is not my meeting to attend, but I've informed him, I've informed the other staff person, like, kind of, here's the thing. I get this call in to the boss, Trisha. I'm like, uh oh, what's going on? And he's like, hey, so tell me what's up with XYZ. And I'm like, well, here's the situation, here's the thing. And he's like, oh, well, this person's saying whatever. And I'm like, what? So basically, this person had just straight up lied to my boss and implying that I somehow knew and that I was okay with whatever this thing he was trying to pass off as the truth was. And I was livid. So I'm like, I'm up here having to defend myself to my boss. Now, my boss quickly figured out what was going on. He was like, you're good. But now, I know who I'm dealing with when I walk into this meeting. I was livid for days. And this is still someone whose paths we were going to cross, right, in this world, and someone I'd known for some time. And I decided I was done. I mean, because you lied on me to my boss and then setting me up and setting him up for failure. And one thing I don't ever do, I used to have stickies right. I was like, I don't do drama with me and boss. There could be a problem or whatever. They're gonna know about it because I don't do that. Oh, let me fake it and try to fix. No, 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 no. Right? I'll take whatever hits I need to take. But taking a hit for something because someone just straight up lied, yeah, I was done. And so for me, that was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, this relationship is done. I don't have anything else to say to this person, quite frankly, and they can definitely know that they're not getting any assistance from me, wherever it might be. And that's how serious it was. And I truly was. And it's really funny because later on, this person married another person that worked in the industry and all of that. And I'm like, I kept them both at distance because I truly was like, I don't have anything else to deal with this person ever because I couldn't be trusted, right? That trust had been violated. This wasn't just a little bit of strategy. This was flat out, I'm going to throw you under the bus to your boss and then expect you to cover this lie. Not going to happen. So when we're talking about those levels, there is that where you question where my integrity and reputation comes into play and gets questioned as a result of some action that another person takes. We're done. Like we're just done. Because as a professional, I spent way too much time, decades building that reputation, building that trust with people that I work with, whatever. We can fuss and fight and disagree, but there was always trust and knowing that someone could take my word for things. And if you've brought that into question, then yeah, we're really not going to have a whole lot more. Then the level down from that would be kind of I'll say a hard burn, not a complete burn, which would be actions that bring real harm to myself or others, right? And there's a distinction, like, because I'm not talking about something where it's like someone's, I don't say, it's just harmful, it's neglectful, it's insidious kind of behavior where it's like, I don't quite trust you. You and watching how someone maybe is treating others, right? That's another level for me where I'm like stepping back and like, yeah, maybe not. And then there's the soft, what I'll call the soft burn, which is this is not clicking. You're kind of taking a different path now. You're going a different direction. And or my gut just says something's off here. So I'm gonna pull back. We might still interact, but it's gonna be cordial. And I'm always gonna have a little bit of my guard up as a result, right? And there are levels, like I said, like that could be something different for you, but it is a matter of recognizing when you are completely willing and ready to just completely cut off someone, because to know that access to that person and where they may be down the road, that's the thing you don't ever know. Like you're perfectly fine with not having access to that or them, um, down the road as a result. And this is why I said, I'm not saying don't ever burn a bridge, because there are people who will tell you that. I think that's dangerous. I think that's irresponsible as well, because it gets to a question of your own personal values and your own personal integrity and what you are or are not willing to tolerate in your personal and or professional relationships. So I'm not never going to be one to say don't ever burn a bridge. I am going to say be mindful of your actions, of your own actions or interactions with others that may cause a bridge to be burned, right? And I will say, I'm not perfect. I am sure there's something out there that I've done that maybe I knew or didn't know about that caused, someone to feel like they could not trust me. And if I really knew about it, I'd be like, oh, if I could fix it, I would. Um, and and I also know people's levels and sensitivities regarding different things are different. Like there are moments when you engage in business activity where you may have to do something that's, everyone's not going to like, but you can still maintain um, trust and be able to interact with someone, right? And sometimes someone may think that one of those actions is something to that's worth burning a bridge over for them, right? And that's their prerogative. That's everyone's prerogative. We all make mistakes. No one's perfect. And I will say though that I try my darndest throughout my life and career not to burn bridges unnecessarily or not to be the cause of a bridge being burned if I can help it. And in some ways, I think that's probably been detrimental, more detrimental to me than to another person because I've tried to be so mindful of that. But I'm not perfect. I am in no ways perfect. I have had some crazy stuff go down, um, with things that didn't work out the way they were supposed to. And so, yeah, I can see where someone has been disappointed in me. But again, not to be from a perspective of where I'm deliberately trying to do harm to someone. Um, and, there we are. It happens. I would suggest, however, that you think long and hard before you take something that is a should be a building block and just throw it into the fire as if it's you can redo it at any time. Because that's what that situation on that show seemed like to me. And I'm like, you're gonna pay the price for that for a very long time. Right? Or people going to say, well, we're professionals and they're entitled to disagree. Yeah, but it's what's below that, right? Your inability, because it's talking to, yes, in that moment, you could be really upset that you lost and do, I get it. And let's have some level of maturity about it. Let's also think about, you know what? Maybe I'm going to vent off camera later, but me going at it back and forth for TV with folks who are have long tentacles in my professional industry, and this is being televised. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And so I just advise you to be thoughtful, be mindful. It's really one of those things where people tell you you're writing an email in response to something, and that you just don't hit send. Please don't hit send. Like sleep on it, put it in save. Do not put anything in the to. Leave it open and think about it, sleep on it, and come back to it. And when we do that, there's so much that can be learned from that moment where you can shift your mindset or whatever. But if there's something that truly is like, yeah, I got to say this has to be done, and you know what the potential consequences are, have at it. We all have different levels of tolerance. Um, but I want you to be mindful, since I'm the person who likes to talk about building professional relationships that last, that throwing a torch underneath a professional bridge is not generally the way to go. So, there are my thoughts there. A few lessons from the most recent episodes of Top Chef coming to you courtesy of Seeger and Burning Bridges with Potential Colleagues. Have a thought on that, right? Okay, so there you are, and we will see you in the next video. Meanwhile, I hope that you will celebrate yourself and all that you do and say, and make sure that you are be empowered all along the way. All right, take care. Talk soon.